I'm meteorologist John Weatherby.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Health Futures. I'm your host, Bob Roth. And today is Friday, December 2nd, the first Friday of December for the year 2016. We're in the last month, and we're completing our third year on the show. Health Futures, if you're just tuning in, is a show about how our older adult population can live a healthier, happier life. And it's Health Futures, and our tagline is Taking Stock in You. And we're able to do this show because we bring extraordinary guests to the show, and our guests bring really great content, meaningful content for our listening audience to really take back, digest, and maybe share with their families, their loved ones, their neighbors, on really how to navigate the challenges that we all deal with aging. We've had a lot of activity in the political world in the last month, but as a byproduct of that, we're seeing a lot of change, and certainly there is some change that has taken place just in the last week, and that is people have been appointed. And Tom Price is the new Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, and certainly, as many of our listening audience know, our President-elect, Donald Trump, has made it really clear that we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch because this certainly affects all of us, but it also affects our older adults. And one of the things that many of our older adults are very concerned about is Medicare and also Medicaid services. So, we'll probably talk a little bit about this today, but if you are just also tuning in for the first time, please go out to our website at cypresshomecare.com. You can find about 150 episodes that we've brought to you over the last 3 years. So I want to, without further ado, introduce our guests here in the studio because, like I said at the top of the show, our guests are the ones that make it. Two of our guests today are previous attendees. The one to my right, Deena Goldstein, was here back in September. Welcome to the show, Deena.
Thank you.
And Deena has this great company called Measurabilities. They do a lot of assistance with assistive devices and helping people be able to age successfully at home by giving them the tools that they need to be able to do that successfully. And then just to her left, or her right, my left, is Maryglenn Boals. And Maryglenn Boals was here in July, and she actually guest hosted my show. And you were the first person that was not a part of Cypress HomeCare Solutions that guest hosted it. And Maryglenn Boals has a great company that offers long-term care insurance, MG Boals and Company?
And Associates.
Maryglenn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob.
We do have so much to talk about, but I want to kick off the show on a more light-hearted note because we are amongst the holidays right now. And, it's amazing because Christmas decorations went up, I think, the earliest I've ever seen. I think I saw one in my neighborhood just before Halloween. I mean, it is crazy. And it is amazing. The day after Thanksgiving, all of a sudden, boom, everybody's got them up, and we're in the Christmas spirit. We're hearing Christmas music. If you watch television, you saw that the White House put up their Christmas lights, and they had a big shindig last night, and the Rockefeller Centers that went up. So everybody's in the holiday spirit. So in that vein, when you were here in September, we were talking about what were they thinking.
Right.
And,
right.
We talked about a couple things. So, please share with our listening audience and with Maryglenn and I some of the what were you thinking?
Well, every day in our lives, we look around, there's things that we see and we're like, what were they thinking? So, for example, some of the things that I've run into recently that I was completely appalled by, or shocked, I should say. So with the holiday season, everyone's looking for that quintessential gift to give. So I came across these crazy gifts. So if you're looking for something that you really want to catch your loved one with off guard, if you're looking for an outfit for your guinea pig, they have a lovely little Santa outfit with the cap and the pom-pom. That's a nice gift.
How do you put it on your guinea pig?
Well, this is a problem, and if it doesn't fit, there are no returns, and plus you get the little guinea pig hair, and that's kind of a problem. Yeah, so, and then this one, the Chia Trump. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Chia Pet. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The hair, now this is actually green hair that grows out, not
orange.
Not the quintessential orange.
Not the orange.
Yeah, it does grow straight out, and if you're really good with plants, you can really turn it into kind of a nice head of hair.
How about a comb over?
You could. Well,
you could do the
Chia
comb
over. Yeah.
The Chia over.
The Chia over.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was a nice one. So for your gardening enthusiast, that's always a plus. And then this one was a little bit strange. Human anatomy coasters. So, you know, the thing that you want to put on your under your guest cocktails is a coaster with some sort of bones. You know, it's like a diagram of bones. And I thought, what is next? Like hair follicle refrigerator magnets? I mean, I'm not getting it.
I'm glad you kept it clean. Cause
yeah,
you could go the other way.
Yeah, it could have been. No, these were like skeletal drawings, like, you know, thank you for the cocktail. And wow, this is a great hand picture. I just never seen anything like that. Where'd you get your set from? Yeah, so I don't know. Just a few weird things. You guys see any weird gifts out there?
Okay, I do know of one that you didn't mention. A friend of mine at her store was selling squirrel underpants.
And
I actually know someone who bought a pair for his wife, and they're still married.
Squirrel underpants.
Squirrel underpants. Cutest little thing you ever saw.
Yeah, I just wanted, just like the guinea pig, how do you get those on? And where do you find a squirrel in Arizona, right?
Who's going to stand still for that? I mean, I can't even get my dog's shirt on to take her out at the crack of dawn. I mean, squirrels move a lot faster and they bite.
But it's funny, those little gifts when you're struggling to find something for someone and you know their sense of humor, sometimes it does make sense.
Well, did you see there's a Ouija board necklace? It's a pendant. Like the last thing you want to do is, you know, be having a conversation with somebody and blindly, you know, touching your pendant and you've just like spelled out what your future's supposed to be. You were
really thinking.
Or what they were thinking, yeah. So.
Well, I do like kicking off our show saying, what were we thinking? So, I mean, or what were they thinking? So thank you, Deena, to add a little levity to this show.
Sure, my pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. You know, I want to just, you know, for our listening audience, if they've not heard you on our show before, Deena, I'm looking at you. Tell us a little bit about Measurabilities. I know that you guys specialize in fall prevention, home safety equipment, and you're specialists in that area, but can you tell us a little bit more about you guys?
Sure. So what we do, Sandy and I own the company. It's a family-owned business.
Sandy's your husband.
Sandy's my husband. He's been a physical therapist for years. And what we discovered is the clinical approach to fall prevention is very important in safety outcomes in the home. So as people are aging in place, so is the need for people to be safe in their home. So what we do is Sandy goes out and he provides a clinical free home safety assessment and determines what is needed. He'll have the patient perhaps ambulate through the environment, look at what's going on in various areas in the home. The bathroom, of course, is the number one place for falls for a variety of reasons, which we've talked about often. And he'll make recommendations. And then also what we do is we follow up with clinically guided installation of the items. So, for example, if somebody needs a safety grab bar, it's very important to have a clinical approach to the placement of the bar, the type of bar, the location in terms of height, because that deals with body mechanics and things like that. So everything we do is clinically guided.
I like that. That's really, really cool, especially the fact that Sandy is a physical therapist. So, I mean, he can really, ergonomically assess somebody's needs.
Correct.
And then prescribe accordingly. And we've worked really closely together. So it's really nice because I've seen him put his blue tape up, markings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he comes in afterwards with the power drill and everything to make it all work.
Yeah, we soup to nuts. We do everything because what we found is, if you make the recommendations and you farm it out, you have no idea what somebody's going to get, where they're going to get it. And frankly, a handyman is a handyman, but they are not a clinician, and there's no attention to the clinical detail that's needed. So,
well, when we come back from our break, I want to talk a little bit more to Maryglenn to find out what she's doing, but I want to just leave off with this. Falls, if you're 80 or older, you have like a 50% chance of mortality, right?
Right.
I mean, it is incredible what falls do to our older adult population. Broken pelvises, broken hips, broken shoulders.
Loss of independence, possibly.
Yeah, and it's something that we can affect.
It is preventable. We want to keep people from being a statistic.
And I know that people are cognizant of others seeing them with a walker or cane-assisted devices, and they feel like they don't want to use that because people will think negatively about them.
Right. But it's what you need to do to be safe, so kind of have to check the ego at the door for that.
We're up against a break. You're listening to Health Futures. We'll be right back.
It's not the number of bedrooms, but how many slumber parties. It's not the size of the backyard, but how big the memories. It's not your square footage. It's your circle. At Alaris, we're not about selling you a mortgage for a house. We're here to help you create a home. See how Alaris does banking, mortgage, retirement, and wealth management differently at Alaris.com. Or stop by and talk with us today.
This is J.D. Hayworth, host of Newsmax Prime on Newsmax TV with great news. Now you can watch Newsmax Prime twice each weeknight on KFPB Channel 56 on CenturyLink Prism. The future of our nation is at stake in this election, and it's imperative you get the news and analysis you can trust. Join me Monday through Friday on Newsmax Prime at 5 and again at 8 p.m. on KFPB Channel 56 on CenturyLink Prism. See you then.
Sign Now by Barracuda Networks is the next generation in e-signature solutions, accelerating business transactions for more than 4 million people and counting. Sign Now is priced at a fraction of the cost of comparable solutions, offers superior ease of use, yet includes all the enterprise-class security and functionality your business will ever need to safely go paperless. Sign Now is pre-integrated with Salesforce, Office 365, and Google Apps, and you can even integrate Sign Now with your own app through its API. Visit signnow.com and enter promo code RADIO to start your free trial.
Hey, Money Radio listeners. Corey Scheidler here with Core Fitness AZ. I want you to look and feel great for the holidays. Did you know that 80% of your weight loss results are from eating better foods? That's why I want you to go to my website and download my free book of recipes. Go to www.corefitnessaz.com and click Download My Free Recipes, and I will email you your very own copy of my nutritious and delicious recipes. That's www.corefitnessaz.com. Do that today and start losing weight.
Did you know you can redirect your taxes to one of several charities by going to aztaxcredit.org? It's true and available to anyone filing taxes in Arizona. aztaxcredit.org. Do it today.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. Thank you, James, bringing us in with a little doors. I love that. If you're just tuning in, you've just tuned into Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're on our second segment, and I've got in the studio with me, I've got Maryglenn Boals. She is the president of MG Boals and Associates. And I've got Deena Goldstein, and she is one of the owners of Measurability's Home Safety. And when we left off, we were talking about falls, and we were talking about how hazardous they are and how they are preventable.
Right.
And we also were talking about these assistive devices. And I wanted, just before we talk a little bit about long-term care insurance and the great work that MG Boals and Associates does, I want to conclude by talking about, how can we make this more aesthetically pleasing? And also, one of the things we talked about at the break, too, is that most people think they just need a handy person.
Right, right. So interesting. So to the first point, aesthetics are a concern to some people. Nobody wants institutional-looking areas in their home. Some people don't mind, and that's fine, but we have the ability to, there's different finishes on bars and different supplies that we have that fits into the environment. So if somebody has they have a beautiful home, everybody wants to take care of their home, and they don't want to do anything to the infrastructure that's going to be unsightly. So we have different finishes, styles, types, down to grips and so we can take care of the aesthetic portion of that. And also in terms of floors, floors are a really big concern where falls are addressed. So that can be in and out of the shower. That could be in the kitchen where there's water. Anytime there's water used, falls are high risk. So we do non-slip surface treatment for the floors, which is not visible, but it increases what's called the coefficient of friction, the COF. So that's a fun term. I like to call it non-slip. That's a little easier. But what it does is, so you don't have to worry about rugs, which can be a real trip hazard. You can increase the friction when the floor is wet.
Nice. So, and you recommend that in the bathroom, kitchen?
Any place where there's a tiled surface. Bathroom, of course, being number one area for falls. We do it in the shower, the tub, the floor. You're washing your hands, you turn around, you've got water on the floor, you're stepping out of the tub and shower, you're dripping. The mats that are in the showers, they are Petri dishes. They collect a lot of bacteria. They can curl and catch on your toes and your feet. It is a trip hazard. And again, rugs. Everyone likes to have a rug in their bathroom. Not all of them have non-skid on the reverse side, so they too slide. So you have nothing to keep, sure-footed when you're in the bathroom.
And it's interesting when we live in Arizona, and I would say that we have much more homes, or many more homes that have tile in them, than they do back east or in the Midwest. So, tiles are really hazardous to our older adults because you take a fall on tile. You're breaking something.
Oh,
you got nothing there to cushion your blow.
Absolutely. And what happens is, we see people when they're in rehab coming home from a fall on the tile. It's hip fractures. Could be a traumatic brain injury. And the problem with that is not just the incident itself. It's what it does to you from then on. Loss of independence, your ability to function at the level that you did prior to your fall changes. So floors are a really important concern to address because falls are avoidable,
Can't say it enough.
Yeah.
Avoidable, preventable, all of the things. And I want to also leave off with you. We were talking about some of these assistive devices.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to have that sterile chrome walker. I mean, they make them in these different colors. You can have a basket, you can have a seat, you can have a lot of different things on these.
Right. I mean, there are different accoutrements for your assistive device to make you comfortable and make you feel good when you leave the house. There are baskets and little trays and liners, and some of them come in different fabrics. And we don't have gold lame yet, but that might be nice for New Year's Eve or something.
Well, I think with President-elect Trump, we'll have gold.
That would be nice.
We'll definitely have gold.
I like it. That's a good touch.
All right. So transitioning over to my other guest here, Maryglenn Boals.
And I've got that transition for you, Bob, because all those things sound so wonderful, but how do we pay for them? People might be surprised to know that inside long-term care policies, there's usually a portion of your benefits that can be used for home modification to pay for some of these things that we look at. There's usually an amount limited to maybe it's 1 month of the benefit or something, but I think people forget about this, that the personal safety alarms, grab bars, some of this other equipment may fall into being covered by their long-term care insurance policy.
That's in addition to what they pay for other care, right?
Absolutely.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yes.
Well, tell me a little bit about MG Boals and Associates. You've been on the show before, and our listening audience, many of them may recognize you, but some may not. And long-term care insurance, I will share with our listening audience, my biggest challenge in home care is that 50% of the callers that call into our office that are needing assistance at home, I disappoint. And I don't do it on purpose, but I disappoint them because they think that their Medicare benefit pays for the work that we do.
Absolutely.
Or they think that their health plan or Medicare Advantage plan pays for it. And I have to be that person to say, I'm sorry, it doesn't. And the only way you can pay for in-home care services from my agency and any other agency that is out there is you can pay for it via long-term care insurance, or you're paying cash, or if your economic situation is such where you have less than $2,000 of income a month and over less than $20,000, $22,000, I forget what it is in terms of assets, you could be on the Medicaid program here through our state.
Right. I think the best thing for people to do is probably go out to Medicare.gov and really understand. And even if you look for it under long-term care, you're not going to find it. You have to literally search it as skilled nursing facility, because that's really all that they're going to pay for. And then within that, Medicare only pays for the first 20 days fully that someone might need skilled nursing facility. Day 21 to 100, you would have a co-insurance. And at this point, the co-insurance goes up every year, but we're breaching probably about $160, $65 this year. That's your co-insurance for every single day, day 21 to 100. But before you get excited that you've got 100 days, remember, this is the government. We have a lot of rules. The rule is that at any point in time during those days, if you are not, what I say, it's all the recuperating, improving, increasing, they're going to continue to pay during that 100. But once you plateau and what you're needing is more, we're caring for you at the level that you are at. We're meeting you there. That's usually when you're off. And that could be day 22, it could be day 78, it could be at any point, but that's kind of the parameter. So that's where this long-term care insurance in the private sector kind of falls into place, and it jumps in, and that would be where you would start paying. But you mentioned earlier in our opening about new president, changes, just reminding people long-term care insurance is not covered under the Affordable Care Act. It was not part of that. That did not make the cut. So I don't know that we'll see any changes to that will be incorporated. But the choices for what is available out there in the private market is changing daily. And I'm sad to report that today is the last day that you could submit a long-term care application to the John Hancock Insurance Company, because they're no longer going to offer traditional long-term care insurance. The pool of what people have to select from is getting smaller and smaller.
It's interesting you share that with our listening audience. And many of these companies that got into the long-term care insurance business were initially in life insurance and other insurance products. And I think that many of them felt, and again, this is just my non-professional experience, that many of them thought that people would let them lapse like life insurance policies do. But I think, your average consumer was intelligent enough to know that they bought one of these things, they better hold on to it, because they've learned either through family members or friends that it costs a lot of money to get care. And we have seen now John Hancock, we've seen MetLife, we've seen Prudential, we saw Conseco, we saw so many companies. I would imagine they probably push close to 20 different companies that have fallen out of it. So there are a select few, and when we come back from our break, I want to talk a little bit about some of the options that are available, because some of them have really gotten creative, and they've gotten creative in the sense that they bundle it with a life insurance, and then there's some indemnity programs that make a lot of sense. So there are still options. They're just not as economical as they used to be. But when you think about the costs, they certainly are preferred. Compared to that cost of care, they are less expensive. Exactly. We're up against a break. It's halftime at Health Futures. We will be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
The death toll from wildfires charring the Great Smoky Mountains in eastern Tennessee has climbed to 13, and the number of damaged homes and businesses is close to 1,000. Meteorologist Derek Van Dam says approaching rain may help firefighters.
We still have 0% containment around the Gatlinburg area, where the Chimney Top 2 fire continues to burn and smolder. The good news is that we have a multi-day rain event in the forecast coming up over the next 3 to 5 days.
The unemployment rate has hit a 9-year low, falling to 4.6% last month. Correspondent Scott Carr.
Employers added a solid 178,000 jobs in November. nearly matching the average monthly gains this year. But average hourly pay slipped after a solid gain the previous month.
Michigan's Elections Board has deadlocked on President-elect Donald Trump's request to prevent a recount, when changes will start next week unless the courts intervene. On Wall Street, the Dow down 33 points, the S&P 500 down 1. I'm Ann Cates.
Napa know-how. This winter, millions of drivers will mutter disparaging words under their breath and shake their fists in the air due to dead car batteries. Luckily, there's Napa, with a wide range of batteries at a wide range of prices to fit any budget, including the always reliable Napa Legend battery. So, the only thing that gets heated up this winter is your car, right after it starts up on the first try. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Not available in all states.
Hey, you two. What brings you to the mall?
We're just here checking on our robot.
Your robot?
Our recent Irby's Froyo robot. Diane and I became franchisees last month.
It serves frozen yogurt creations to customers in 60 seconds.
Recent Irby's provided us with everything we needed. They even help you secure amazing locations. Movie theaters, grocery stores, college campuses, theme parks. They make any location a sensation.
How do I get a Froyo robot of my own?
Just go to FroyoFranchising.com and enter promo code 9696. But hurry, because they're going fast. FroyoFranchising.com, promo code 9696.
Money Radio is valley-wide on the radio and beyond. So listen often and listen everywhere. 1510 on AM, 99.3 on FM, and streaming live with our app at moneyradio.com.
High returns on your investments? Who wouldn't want that? This is Sinclair No, with a strategy that could increase your overall return on your investment portfolio. It's called Decadian. The Decadian investment methodology encompasses a 10-year goal for financial freedom. Plus something that's really missing today, straight talk, so you know you have a financial advisor you can trust. Great investment recommendations that far exceed what your institutional markets offer. All this wrapped with performance guarantees. Only those who know what they can do will guarantee what they can do. Decadian. Decadian.com. Decadian. That's Decadian.com. Call 844-332-2342. 844-332-2342. Here for you when you need it most. Decadian.
When I listen to Audible, I'm not on mile 2 of my early morning run. I'm out searching for clues in the abandoned toy factory near the cemetery. As I make my way down to the basement, I can't help but feel like I'm being followed. Did that doll just move?
Who's there? They're getting closer!
I should really get a treadmill.
Go to audible.com/actnow and your first download is free. Audible. Stories that surround you.
Hey guys, Santa here. Just made a special delivery of goods to DXL, where you can find all the best men's brands in waist size 38 and up. Get ready to rock the holidays in clothes that'll make you feel cooler than my pal Frosty, with awesome deals to put more jingle in your pocket. So slide on over to DXL today. Ho, ho, ho. Shop DXL stores now through December 10th for deals from 30 to 50% off. Visit DestinationXL.com for details.
Get ShopVac's most powerful feature-packed 14-gallon wet dry vac now at an amazing low price of only $149. For a limited time only, available only at Lowe's.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. Federal banking regulators will, for the first time, allow financial technology firms to apply for federal charters, a move that will give the rapidly growing industry an opportunity to expand while increasing government oversight of the sector. Financial technology firms, or fintechs, offer loans through online platforms and payment systems through smartphone apps and websites. The move will allow them to operate nationally on their own with one license, rather than seeking permits on a state-to-state basis. Oil prices continue to climb. Crude futures are up more than 1% today, now trading at $51.64 a barrel. The stock market keeps moving between gains and losses. Right now, the major indexes are in the red, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 33 points. The NASDAQ Composite and the S&P 500 each are down 1 point. That's Your Money Now.
When it comes to commercial vehicles, it's time to drill down to the details. If you're not driving the new Sprinter Worker from Mercedes-Benz, your van just isn't cutting it. The Sprinter Worker takes payload up a notch, carrying up to 3,512 pounds. Its cargo volume is cranked up too, with over 300 cubic feet of space. When it comes to safety, it's unmatched, but it's the price that'll really hammer it home. The new Sprinter Worker starts at just $32,495. It also has a service interval of up to 20,000 miles and the highest residual value in its class, according to ALG. Put that in your pipe and weld it. Huge capacity, small price, starting at just $32,495. The all-new Sprinter Worker, starting at only $32,495. Mercedes-Benz, vans born to run.
MSRP for a 2016 Sprinter Worker excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep. Options, final availability, and actual dealer price may vary. See dealer for details.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And we're on our third segment. It is Friday, December 2nd. And we have in the studio, we got two outstanding guests, repeat attendees, if you would. One that used to guest host or did guest host previously. I've got Deena Goldstein in the studio. She's with a company called Measurability's Home Safety. And I've got Maryglenn Boals, and she's with MG Boals and Associates. And when we left off on our second segment, we were talking about long-term care insurance, and we were talking about a lot of the changes. And for our listening audience, if you missed the first two segments, you can catch us up on CypressHomeCare.com a little bit later today. You can catch those first two, and obviously you're listening to these two now, and you can catch about 150 others that we've been bringing to you. So, Maryglenn, we were talking about some of the changes that have happened, and you just shared with our listening audience that if you want a long-term care insurance policy with John Hancock, you better make it now.
It's today.
The
application has to be in today. So I don't know how practical that is for people, because I really do feel like when you're looking at long-term care insurance, it's a very thoughtful process, and you want to really consider what are all the factors, to determine. Because my goal is always to help people get the most that they can for the right price. Working within a budget, but it's also really drilling down and helping people understand that typically when you'll need this type of benefit, there's not a lot of cruising going on. You're not going on big vacations. When this happens, life really changes, so incomes can change. So helping people really find that right number that would satisfy the situation if it happened. And I'm very much conservative in how I put together a plan, because we want to look at the reality is this may not ever happen to you.
Right.
But if it does, it can devastate. We know the costs. We know what it takes. And people have this idea when they work with someone, well, I'll get this benefit, $200 a day for the nursing home, but if I stay at home, they give me a 50% benefit. Well, folks, the reality is staying at home is much more expensive than if you were maybe in a facility, because now we have to have an individual caregiver in there, and how many hours, and what else are we supplementing? Is there a couple of caregivers coming within that? So there becomes a break point where people have to make that decision. Is that the most economical or the right way to do that? There has been a lot of condensation into now just the few carriers that are left in this field. But as you mentioned prior to our break, there's some new things happening, or kind of newer. You see more and more people entering into this life long-term care. And so some people that already have life insurance that has cash value, so it's your whole life, it's your universal life policies, they may be able to take those and to do a 1035 exchange and convert that into a policy that is a life long-term care policy. So this is not an accelerated death benefit or, some other type of thing. This purely turns those dollars into you being able to receive them tax free because you're receiving them under the same rules for long-term care insurance. And that can be done. The 1035 exchange, basically how I explain it is, it's because this money never sees air, there isn't any tax consequence. So it moves from being this product, 1035 it, we're into now this other product. So that may be an option. Or maybe you take some other funds that you could reposition something and purchase one of those for the first time. And there are some that you can do with husband and wife. They're joint policies too.
So there are options.
There's still options, absolutely.
And, I talked about before the break, there's an indemnity program too. And is that what you call it? What's MedAmerican?
But Bob, that one's no longer available.
That's not available anymore either?
I know. No.
Wow, they're all
That's what I'm saying.
They're
really
not even
changed.
available anymore. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
The people that have bought this in the past, and this is what I warned about. I've been doing this now for 10 years. I've been in the aging field for about 30 years here in the Valley.
And if I can interrupt you, explain to our listening audience why you pivoted and went into this field.
Because I was always seeing the mess, the not planning, the people, watching families struggle over how they're going to pay the bill. And I thought, I got to get ahead of this problem and help people understand what lies ahead. And, by maybe having an insurance policy that it doesn't have to pay everything, but it defers some of that. It keeps it away from your nest egg. Because remember, the nest egg creates the income stream that then takes care of everything else.
Right.
So, no one wants to, if they're, in a couple situation, if one of them becomes ill, devastate the finances and the lifestyle of the other one. So we want to make sure that we don't derail everything that we've done all this other planning for. But I think it's one of the hardest conversations for people to really talk about. I always joke that the life insurance people got it easy because we're going to buy life insurance, and when you're out of the picture, your family's still on track, everybody's happy, everybody's this and that. Long-term care insurance, I have to sit and talk with you about a time when maybe you're not able to do all your personal hygiene functions for yourself. And you may be very aware and able to see what's going on around you and how this is impacting your family, but maybe not able to do anything at that time. So I always say everyone deserves to have this conversation. Whether you come out of that conversation saying, nope, I was right, I do not need this, I do not want this, that's okay. But you need to at least take the pause and understand what are all the numbers about. There's a lot of myths, that, it's so expensive. There was some information that came out today. The federal long-term care program, also through John Hancock, recently had some astronomical rate increases because they'd never really had rate increases through the program. But when you understood that some of these people, what they were getting for $1,000 a year was, something close to lifetime benefits and, a lot of money every month and an inflation factor that's way above where our economy is growing. Okay, so now their premium went up 90%. So, yes, that's horrible, but we were at $1,000. Now we've gone up 90% more. So we're still under $2,000 a year, and you have everything that I just talked about. So the numbers sound horrible until you kind of do the math and you look at what our costs are tracking at across the country. And there are some places, because you need to think about if your children live in other cities and states, and you may eventually be pulled to one of those, Arizona's inexpensive. Some places in smaller towns might be inexpensive, but some smaller towns in other places are very expensive. And then there's the obvious, New York, very expensive. But it's kind of surprising. But to walk through some of those conversations to figure out what it really would take if you needed it is so important.
What's interesting is I always use the bus scenario, and I use that as an example for just about anything about getting hit by the bus. And to your point, Maryglenn, 90% of the time when you get hit by the bus, you don't die. You're still alive. And you have these, let's put it this way, these activities of daily living that you're no longer able to do.
Right.
And how are you going to pay for assistance at home? And that's what we really need to really think about.
And I've had clients in our meetings joke about that bus scenario, like, well, I just want to be hit by the bus. I actually have someone on claim now who you would have never predicted that within a couple years of them buying their policy would get diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It's been advancing. They are on full care right now. You just wouldn't have predicted it from this person. And what was total health, and then a couple years later, everything changed.
But isn't it? I gotta appreciate, and I gotta imagine that it's gonna be so gratifying to you to be able to have delivered that policy to this couple, and now they're able to use it.
Well, and an ongoing relationship with them, because beyond just selling the policy, we try to help people through the claim process. If they're having any trouble getting on benefit, sometimes it's about navigating the language, because in any industry you have your own little secret language and terms and
acronyms too.
Yeah. Oh, healthcare is known for acronyms. So we help with that, but realizing that all the conversations we had about what they wanted it to look like, why they were trying to do this, it's all working. And they're getting to still live that life, and they will be preserving and protecting some of their assets for their grandchildren. They're not going to have to give that goal up.
I think the space that collectively that we're in, we get to see that. We get to see, for you planning, for you as well as measurabilities. I mean, you're planning to assist somebody to be able to maintain their life and their lifestyle at home, as do we with HomeCare. We're enabling people to stay at home longer.
Right.
And it's a much more affordable option, and it's one that 9 out of 10 people want to do.
We create options.
We do. Well, we're up against a break. Going out with a little Bruce Springsteen. Thank you, James. You're listening to Health Futures. We're down 3 segments. We've got one coming. We'll be right back.
Join certified financial planner Nancy Fleming this and every Wednesday afternoon as she joins me for Financial Review. Nancy and I discuss an array of topics from Social Security, taxes, to what types of obstacles you can and will face in retirement. So join Nancy every Wednesday afternoon at 4:35 for the Financial Review. Want more, Nancy? Be sure to tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for My Smart Retirement, right here on Money Radio.
Sign Now by Barracuda Networks is the next generation in e-signature solutions, accelerating business transactions for more than 4 million people and counting. Sign Now is priced at a fraction of the cost of comparable solutions, offers superior ease of use, yet includes all the enterprise-class security and functionality your business will ever need to safely go paperless. Sign Now is pre-integrated with Salesforce, Office 365, and Google Apps, and you can even integrate Sign Now with your own app through its API. Visit signnow.com and enter promo code RADIO to start your free trial.
On the right side of the trade, we correctly identified several of the market turning points over the last few years. We predicted that oil and gold prices were likely to remain low, and that world growth and company earnings were likely to deteriorate, and we were right on all counts. We now believe the stock market could be in for a significant drop in 2016. Learn to both protect yourself and profit, even when the market falls. Check out online trading academies, The Right Side of the Trade, Thursdays and Saturdays at noon on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3.
When I listen to Audible, I'm not on mile 2 of my early morning run. I'm out searching for clues in the abandoned toy factory near the cemetery. As I make my way down to the basement, I can't help but feel like I'm being followed. Did that doll just move?
Who's there? They're getting closer!
I should really get a treadmill.
Go to audible.com/actnow and your first download is free. Audible. Stories that surround you.
If you're looking to relieve symptoms or support your well-being, head to Walgreens for brands you need like Advil, Centrum, Emergency, and Nexium 24-Hour. And take your health in your own hands. It's your wellness. Own it.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're on our 4th segment, and if you're just tuning in, I've got Deena Goldstein from Measurabilities, Home Safety in the studio, and I've got Maryglenn Boals, and she's with MG Bowl & Associates. Measurabilities assist people with having them be able to maintain their life and lifestyle at home safely. And Maryglenn Boals with her company is able to help people plan for long-term care. And one of the things we've been talking about is long-term care insurance. I want to give a shout-out just so that if you want to learn more about Maryglenn, you can reach her at 602-418-5069 or go to her website, mgboals, that's BOALS.com. And Deena Goldstein, you can reach her at 480-285-6212 or 480-734-0133, or go to measurabilities.com, and that's measurabilities.com. Did I get that right?
You did. I know. It's kind of like a word puzzle, but yeah. If you
it's
get
like
there.
It's like Mississippi.
It is, right, yeah. Only Mississippi's a little easier, but
well,
yes.
Well, you know what? We've been talking about the holidays, and it's hard to believe that we're up against Christmas and Hanukkah both fall on the same night.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. I mean,
it's like a supermoon.
It's like a supermoon. Last year, I think Hanukkah was like a month before.
Yeah,
so.
it was on Thanksgiving, and I was challenged with serving traditional foods and dressing my turkey like a pilgrim at the same time. So that was nice.
There you go. But I want to talk about the holidays because we're talking about older adults. And that's the work that we do collectively. Although Maryglenn works with people planning for their older adult years, if you would. But, we need to be mindful of certain things during the holidays. And typically, we live in a climate and a community like Phoenix, Scottsdale, and the surrounding area where people migrate here because it's warmer, it's nicer, and their loved ones, the parents, grandparents, and others live here. So it's a great destination. So I want to be able to at least reach out to our listening audience and tell them signs to look for.
Well,
because this is a great time because they may not have seen them since Easter or maybe over the summer, and people can change.
Right. It's really important because you have families come in. It's a beautiful climate to visit, even in the winter. And so for many families, they're seeing their parents for the first time in a long time. Things to look for, how your parents are navigating the environment. How are they communicating with you? Are they, do you feel like they're clear-minded? How's the house? What's the environment like? Are you noticing challenges or obstacles? And just kind of taking stock of, how they're doing and maybe having a conversation, not over the meal. Again, not a good place for talk.
Don't hijack the holiday.
Yeah, no, not with that. Don't
no
talk about.
No politics.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
No, and the food's always good. That's always nice. But, having a conversation with them at an appropriate time. How are you doing? Is there anything that's challenging for you? And it's a time to think about planning because if you are the child of a parent who you live far away from, to plan while you're there is a lot easier to get the ball rolling is important. And that's home safety. It's with, the long-term insurance. You might notice that they need some in-home care, some assistance with their activities of daily living. So.
And I think one thing, too, if the adult son or daughter is coming in from maybe out of state, they don't know the resources as easily in your area. So I think that's important is, spend some time online. Obviously, Cypress HomeCare Solutions has lots of different options for people, but also understanding if, everywhere has an area agency on aging. What are some of the other resources in that community? We have Foundation for Senior Living. There's a variety of things in this community if someone's coming into the Phoenix area that can act as a gateway to get them to other resources.
That's so true. There's actually a great website. It's I believe it's AZ Stop Falls, the Arizona Falls Prevention Coalition. I'm on the leadership council for the group, and they have just a pool of wonderful resources on the website for anything having to do with fall prevention. There's all sorts of helpful information, so that's another great resource.
So let's talk about the signs. Okay, so you talked about let's keep the conversation very light and let's not get into politics, but there are things that we need to look for. We need to look for hygiene. We need to look for forgetfulness. We need to look for bumps and bruises. Mm-hmm. We need to look at clutter. And that's one of the big things that happens with older adults. They begin to hoard things, and
right.
We need to make sure that the walkways are clear, especially if we're hosting older adults. we need to be mindful. All of us always kid protect everything.
Right.
But we need to adult protect things, because if we have older adults coming to visit us in the house, the rug that you were talking about in the bathroom.
Yes.
Everybody has a foyer rug. That may not have a tackiness underneath it, and maybe it's something we need to lift. So we need to be thinking about our older adults that come to visit. But if we're visiting older adults, the other thing is, Maryglenn, you mentioned it earlier, and I'd like you to expound on, is the fridge.
The refrigerator can tell you a lot of things. Expired food, just the general order of it. Are there things in there that you could make a meal? Are there things in the pantry that between there you are able to make a meal and you get the sense that they could do that? And expired, or one of the things that I've actually seen is like where there's 2 apples in a bag, and then they're kind of really deteriorating, and then there's 2 more apples that are maybe another week or 2 younger, and a little more and a little more, and so you start to realize this person may be having some forgetful issues about buying, but they know they usually like apples. So there's some interesting things. So just be very observant as to what's in there.
Another thing to look for is how people are transferring. If you've got a parent that's sitting in a recliner, how do they go from sit to stand? Are they able to do it without holding on? Do they require, a lot of, being stabilized? How are they, and how are they off balance? Are they tripping? Do they get lightheaded when they stand up quickly? Things like that can throw your balance off, and medications as well. Medications
are big, and to your point about balance, notice somebody's gait and how they're walking, because, if there is some uneasiness to it. We mentioned it in our second segment about falls and what they do to us.
And one thing I would mention is sometimes we have to consider maybe the holiday needs to come to their home, because you were mentioning we don't childproof our homes, but a lot of times their home may have some of those modifications. So we have to let go and say, where's the best place for this person to have their holiday? It may not be our ideal, but maybe it's best for them. It's less disruptive to them.
Exactly.
And you know what else is being helpful, but not to the point where it's going to hurt their ego because they're hosting and they feel proud of hosting, but just being an observer and stepping in to help where you feel like, maybe safely carrying something hot to the table, soup or something like that.
We're almost against a wrap, and Maryglenn, you gave out a couple sources: Area Agency on Aging, Foundation for Senior Living. Call Cypress HomeCare. We'll help navigate to some solutions.
And don't forget, there's a lot of seniors out there in our community that don't have any family, and reaching out to them and maybe helping them have a happier holiday.
That is so important. Well, thank you, Deena. Thank you, Maryglenn.
Thank you, Bob. Great to be here again.
Make it a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next Friday.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Since 1894, Ameriprise Financial has worked for their clients' futures, helping millions of Americans retire on their terms. Work with Ameriprise Financial Advisor Wayne Candace, and together you'll develop a customized plan for your retirement. Discover the one-to-one relationship you deserve. Call Wayne today at 480-922-4215. Office is located at 16220 North Scottsdale Road, Suite 250, Scottsdale, Arizona 85254. Investment advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
It's KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix. It's planning time right now. And in addition to making plans for the holidays, it's time to do some financial planning for next year. And to get some help, well, you're at the right place right now. Money Radio. Checking the market, the Dow is down 32 points, S&P 500 down 1, and the NASDAQ is up 1 point.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin now.